Aloha mai. Welcome to the 2018 Office of Hawaiian Affairs Candidate Forum, held at the campus of Windward Community College and hosted by Windward Oahu Civic Clubs. The candidates were asked to respond to the concerns over the recent OHA audit.
Aloha mai kako. Mahalo so much for having us here this evening, and thank you to the steering committee for allowing us this opportunity to share with you and answer your questions, whatever questions you may have. I am Carmen Hulu Lindsay, your Maui trustee. It has been my honor to serve you at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs for the past 6 years. I am presently the chairperson for the Resource Management Committee, in which all of the lands, legacy and commercial, and all of the money from our investment portfolio, ceded land, and commercial real estate revenues are my kuleana in overseeing their management. I will get right to the point of the question posed by your steering committee. How do you plan to correct problems raised in a recent state audit regarding concerns raised about the management and spending of OHA resources by both the trustees and staff? When I became the Resource Management Committee chairperson 2 years ago, I became aware of some of the problems raised in the audit. I thought of addressing the problems in 3 ways. Number 1, trustees must support and work with the state auditor for complete disclosure of all information, fiscal and programmatic, in order to be accountable and transparent. I have done this with the state programmatic and grants audits. We have begun implementing the audit recommendations, giving priority to those areas where there were inadequate oversight of fiscal allocations. In the past years, the CEO was able to move 10% of the budget at an average of $5 million without any accountability or restriction. As a result of recent policy changes passed by the RM Committee and the board, OHA has stopped this practice. Our new policy limits the authority of the CEO to budget adjustments that fall within the lesser of $100,000 or 5% of each expenditure category. Adjustments that exceed management's authorities must be presented to the Board of Trustees for approval. The RM Committee will continue to address the audit's recommendations to ensure more accountability and transparency at OHA. Under the leadership at the Resource Management Committee and the Board of Trustees, having voted unanimously to approve an internal audit by an external auditor for OHA, focusing on fraud, waste, and abuse. There has been much public media coverage on the investigation into OHA for public corruption by state and federal agencies. This second audit, initiated by the trustees, is examining activities and disbursements of our people's trust assets. As the RM chair, I plan to participate fully in this forensic audit and will support a full public disclosure of the audit's findings. Last month, the RM Committee sent a mandate to the administration and fiscal staff to prepare draft policies addressing every area identified in the proposed fiscal sustainability plan for trustee review. The RM Committee will move the fiscal sustainability plan forward based on sound and specific policies that are prudent and responsible. I just returned from Washington, D.C. this past Monday after honoring our great King Kamehameha with many beautiful and fragrant lei from our islands. It was with great pride that I shared a brief message on behalf of my fellow OHA trustees with our many beneficiaries on the continent. As I described, in my opinion, what made Kamehameha great, I also shared that he let law govern the people moving forward, ushering in a new era. Since the wrongful overthrow of our kingdom's government and the illegal annexation of our nation, the upward trajectory of our people set in motion by Kamehameha was derailed, leaving our people destitute and our traditions in disarray. But as we decolonize our minds in the margins of society and bring forth what our ancestors have left for us, we thrive once again. So much has been done by our communities to make a better life for our people. For as many years we have been lost, we have also been fighting to hold on to what we love and value. Pupukahi I holomua, unite in order to progress. But as far as we have come, the path to complete freedom is still beyond the horizon. There is so much more to do. And as our world has changed, so must our people. The rules have changed, and now we must adapt to ensure our people's survival, secure what is ours, and protect everything that we value. In these trying times, with the great needs of our people, may we remember the legacy of Kamehameha, Mo'i o Kalahui, and all of those who helped him achieve self-determination. With all that lies ahead, I am reminded of the African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. Mahalo.
The audit that came out earlier this year and the one that came out most recently, it is clear to me that there just needs to be a change in direction. It's not a condemnation, and it's not a condemnation of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs and what it does and what it stands for, which I think is important and valuable. But it's certainly an indication and a signal that we need change. We need progress. We need the future and the next generation to come in and start taking responsibility for this. And that's why I decided to run, because I mean, I initially called for all of the trustees to step down. Surprise, surprise, they did not listen to me, not that they needed to necessarily. But that's not how the world works. Everybody has their issues and they want to stand up for them and fight for them. But ultimately, the question that comes up is, how are we going to fix OHA? What are we going to do with the last audit that just came out and the one before that? The plan I laid out in my articles that have been in Star Advertiser and Civil Beat is the same now that it was then. You stop with the discretionary spending. The audit that came out first said we're spending twice as much money on the Kulia grants and the CEO sponsorships as we are on competitive grant giving. That doesn't even make any sense to me. We have a process that the second audit, which came out, showed actually is working pretty well. That second process where we have competitive grants that go out, OHA says this is what we want to do, and people provide their answer to that question, and then we evaluate them, that process is working. What's not working is the CEO and the trustees being able to pick and choose their projects based on, as the auditor described, who knows them, who their friends are. So the first step is to end those processes. The Kulia grants, the CEO sponsorship, those discretionary spendings just need to end, and they need to end now. And there's been a moratorium on it, that's good, that should be permanent. Once that's done, OHA needs to start looking at its research. I just wrote another article in Civil Beat analyzing this. We were looking at the research department's data. The research department of OHA's job is to keep track of what is going on with the Native Hawaiians. That is their primary responsibility. They have data out there that is not keeping track of the margin of error for what the status of Native Hawaiians is. I'm hoping Leona can talk to me about this and give me, I want to know all her mana'o on this. But that's fundamentally what we have to look at. We have to learn about, that's the starting point for everything OHA has to do. It has to know what is going on with the Hawaiians. And as far as I can tell, it does not right now know at a data level. Maybe we know from going out in the community and the spirit and talking to people, and that is good, but for an organization that spends $50 million a year, it needs data. And that's what I want to push for. I want to push for transparency. I emailed OHA to try and find out who was spending what in the recent audit. You saw that the trustees were walking around and using their expense accounts as personal expense accounts. They were handing money to people. They're buying tickets for rodeos and giving money to each other's children for medical expenses. I asked for who those people were. The answer I got from OHA was that they couldn't tell me because they're under federal investigation and it might embarrass them in the public sphere. Yeah, no kidding. That's the idea. But you should be releasing that data. That should be transparency. That's the kind of transparency I want to release. And in the end, OHA is actually doing a lot of good in the community. It's handing out the funds. It's going out there. It's focusing on education of the keiki. That's what it needs to do. But again, if it doesn't have the data to track its results, it's just throwing money down the drain. It doesn't know what its impact is. OHA doesn't have enough money to just give everyone money. If you divide the number of beneficiaries by the amount of money OHA has, we'd all get $200 a year. But that's not going to be enough to make a difference. It needs to be a catalyst, and to be a catalyst, it needs money. Mahalo.
I was at OHA in '95 when they had a donations program, when we were actually getting money into the pockets of our beneficiaries, helping them with their medical problems, helping them with food on the table, actually giving food coupons, helping them with their medical bills, helping them with their funeral costs. And I think Trustee Akana also wanted a graveyard. We have to help our people. I don't see enough money from the corpus getting down to our people and improving their personal situation. When you talk about discretionary funds, do we know that they help people with first month's rent and deposit? Because when you go to Helping Hands, they're out of money. Do you know that a gold thing is called a Section 8 voucher? That a housing problem with 4 families in it, one can actually move out and get their own place, but they don't have that beginning funding. That's where our money should be going, improving, bettering the conditions of our people. And that we have moved away from. I promise you a chicken in every pot. In other words, I want you to have money from this corpus, because if you're giving grants to nonprofits, where is some of that money going? Salaries. Does that give you a bed of drug treatment? Does that help your incarcerated person get a job and come out and find housing? These are the real problems of our people. This is what I want us to address. And nationhood, if you're spending $30 million on nationhood, where is it? Where's our nation? People, it's powered in you. You are sovereign. Let's move together and move if we want a nation. None of this hooky stuff. I'm the queen. But collectively, let's kuka together. How do we solve this and come together? And it ain't going to come under Trump. It ain't coming under Trump unless we send one real Maka'ala Republican up there. Because you can see him bending out like he likes North Korea right now, right? So we stand chance. We stand chance, people, but it's in our destiny. Give our power to our people. And again, I say, thank you for coming. Love your families, number one. No, number one, love God. Then love your families, love your community, love your nation. That's what Leona is about. And that's what been my walk for the last 20-odd years at OHA, and prior to that, changing legislation, letting adoption records be open, because I couldn't prove I'm Hawaiian. Take a look, gang. But I couldn't prove I'm Hawaiian. So those are the things I've done for our people. I've helped homeless over $3 million when I was a homeless coordinator. My record proves itself. Right now, if I go back to adoption, records are completely open with no blockage on either side. So it's stuff like that that I've been a part of. Kalima versus State of Hawaii. 20 years. I take vacation when I got to go to court. And I'm fighting right now to get us in Supreme Court this year. 400 of our claimants have already died, and the state wants to put away this claim to those who have died. However, we have a successorship category. They will not die and not have their problem solved. So those are the things I stand for, people. My word is in my action. Aloha.
Hapai au, hapai oe, eluna kako. I lift, you lift, together we rise. Ovau Jackie Kaho'okeli Burke. I'm running for the office of Oahu trustee for OHA. I want you to know that I will be not accepting any campaign donations, because I want to focus totally on what it takes to be a good trustee. I want to focus on the various different challenges facing our Hawaiian nation today. With a master's in public health and a master's in urban and regional planning, these skill sets will assist in developing viable solutions for addressing the accountability of millions of dollars without measurable data, and the expensive with no oversight actions in hiring practices, with an over-empowered administrator who inherited the current division that at one time was shared between trustees and their administrator. To bring back committees that at one time helped make decisions collectively, with business and community leaders' inputs in areas such as these things that are close to me, which is healthcare for Native Hawaiians, and why not revenue from medical marijuana to pay for more programs? How about our own foreign trade zone to bypass the Jones Act, right? How about creating and owning our own utilities, generating our own electricity and selling it back to Hawaiian Electric or Maui Electric? And of course, housing. We're not homeless, we're houseless. This is our home. And of course, owning our own bank to become financially independent and sovereign. I've been so humbled to share 35 years of community service in over 20 organizations, as well as editor and publisher of the O.H.A. files, which gave me an ear into listening to the voices statewide in our community. As a Kanaka Maoli, when faced with the historical wrongs of our past, surviving economic shortcomings in the present, and preparing for the questionable future for my 10-year-old granddaughter that I raise, I find peace and heart through my artwork. As an artist, my art has been well received at art shows and sold in art galleries throughout the islands. It's known for its cultural vision and awareness, which has blessed me with the insight for a hopeful future. I would like to share that vision with you tonight. This is Ku and Lono. The orange represents Ku, and the blue represents Lono. The purple is the piko of change, and the hooks are the hooks of life. And the whole intention is that when Ku leaves, that we huli this to Lono. Our grandchildren will huli it. Our great-grandchildren will huli it. This is the power of unity. And this, to me, has been a blessing that I have been a messenger to carry forth the call for unity. Yes, we have many things to discuss on the table, but mainly we must be unified. And it doesn't mean signing the kaniovalu or a roll call. It means being unified in heart, something that we do together, 100,000 of us. This is a vision of our rich cultural heritage, reminding us that there is a time for every purpose under heaven, a time for Ku and a time for Lono. My vision is to nurture unity by finding commonality with others and by reinforcing those beliefs and ideas that bring us together. And of course, we're going to find those ideas that bring us together. Together as a community, we can lay the groundwork and strengthen a firm foundation for our children and our children's children and their children's future. Hapai au, hapai oe, e luna kako. I lift, you lift, let us lift together. Please join me in